Many people believe that taking notes is about storing information. We read a book, we write down the key points, and we file them away. This is a passive act, like putting items into a storage container. The Zettelkasten method, however, treats note-taking as an active conversation with the text we read and the ideas we encounter. It is not a graveyard for facts, but a nursery for insights. Its purpose is not just to remember what you have learned, but to think with it. By creating a network of interconnected notes, you build a thinking partner, a second brain that helps you develop your own arguments and discover surprising connections you would otherwise miss. This approach transforms learning from a simple act of collection into a dynamic process of creation. Your notes stop being isolated summaries of other people's thoughts. Instead, they become building blocks for your own. Each note is an atom of an idea, captured in your own words, ready to be linked to other atoms. This external system frees your mind from the burden of remembering everything. It allows you to focus on the more important work, thinking, questioning, and connecting. The Zettelkasten is not just a tool for organization. It is a framework for producing original and meaningful work by engaging deeply with your sources. The real power of this method lies in its bottom-up structure. Unlike traditional note-taking systems that rely on predefined categories and hierarchies, the Zettelkasten allows order to emerge organically. You do not decide on a topic and then collect notes for it. Instead, you collect notes and then discover the topics that emerge from the connections between them. This mirrors how our brains naturally work, forming webs of association rather than rigid outlines. It is a system designed for discovery, where the most valuable insights often appear at the intersection of seemingly unrelated ideas, sparking creativity and deeper understanding. This philosophy means you never start from a blank page. When you want to write or develop a new project, you do not face an empty screen. You turn to your Zettelkasten, your ever-growing network of thoughts. You can follow trails of links, explore clusters of related ideas, and see how different concepts resonate with one another. It is a system that grows with you, becoming more valuable the more you use it. It becomes a reliable partner in your intellectual journey, helping you to build upon your past thinking instead of constantly starting over from scratch. It is, in essence, a system for compounding knowledge. Syntopic learning is the most active and complex level of reading. It goes beyond simply understanding one book or one article. Instead, it involves reading several sources on the same topic and comparing them to construct a new, more comprehensive understanding that is not found in any single text. You are not just a consumer of information, you are a synthesizer of it. This process requires you to identify the key ideas, terms, and arguments across different authors, even when they use different language. You must build a neutral terminology and a set of questions that can be posed to each source, creating a structured dialogue between them. This method is crucial because important questions are rarely answered completely by a single author or within a single discipline. To truly understand a complex subject like focus, for example, you need to explore it from multiple angles. A psychologist might discuss the cognitive mechanisms of attention, while a philosopher might explore its role in a meaningful life. A productivity expert might offer practical techniques, and a neuroscientist might explain its biological basis. Syntopic learning allows you to bring these different perspectives into conversation with one another, creating a richer and more nuanced understanding than any one source could provide on its own. The challenge of syntopic learning is managing the complexity. How do you keep track of the agreements, disagreements, and unique insights from dozens of different books, articles, and podcasts? This is where a simple filing system fails. Storing notes in separate folders for each book keeps the ideas isolated. You cannot easily see how an idea from a podcast about nutrition connects to a chapter from a book about cognitive performance. To truly synthesize, you need a system that allows ideas to mingle, collide, and form new combinations, regardless of where they came from. The goal is not to become an expert in what others have said, but to develop your own perspective on a topic. Syntopic learning equips you to do just that. By placing different viewpoints side by side, you are forced to critically evaluate them and form your own conclusions. You start to see the gaps in the existing literature and identify new questions that need to be asked. This is the foundation of original thought. It moves you from being a student who summarizes to a scholar who contributes to the conversation. It is the art of building knowledge, not just collecting it. The Zettelkasten method works so well for syntopic learning because its structure is designed for connection, not categorization. It operates on a few simple types of notes. The first are fleeting notes, quick, temporary jottings on whatever you have at hand: a napkin, a smartphone app, a sticky note. These are reminders of ideas that pop into your head during the day. They are meant to be processed later, not stored. Their only purpose is to ensure that a potentially valuable thought is not forgotten before you have a chance to engage with it properly. The second, and most important, are permanent notes. These are the core atoms of your Zettelkasten. A permanent note is not a direct quote or a simple summary. It is a single idea, written in your own words, as if you were explaining it to someone else. Each one is written on a separate card or in a separate digital file and contains the source for proper citation. You then think about how this new idea connects to notes you already have in your system. This step is crucial. You create explicit links between notes, turning your collection into a web of interconnected thoughts. The third type are index notes, which serve as entry points into a topic. An index note is not a rigid category, but a fluid collection of links to permanent notes that are related to a broader theme or question you are exploring. For example, as you read about nutrition and its effect on the brain, you might create an index note titled Nutrition and Cognitive Function. On this note, you would simply add links to individual permanent notes that touch upon this theme, such as one about omega-3 fatty acids and memory, and another about glucose levels and attention. This index grows organically as you add more notes to your system. Let's use the topic of focus as an example. You might read a book on deep work, listen to a podcast on mindfulness, and see a documentary on flow states. For each, you would create permanent notes. One note might be about how eliminating distractions is key to entering deep work. Another might be mindfulness meditation trains the attentional muscle. You then ask, how do these connect? You link the deep work note to the mindfulness note, perhaps adding a comment that mindfulness is a practical technique for achieving the distraction-free state required for deep work. This is how insight is generated, by actively creating relationships between ideas. To make the Zettelkasten a powerful thinking partner, you need to integrate it into your routine. It is not something you do once in a while. It is a daily practice. A simple daily habit is to process your fleeting notes. At the end of each day, take 15 to 30 minutes to review the quick ideas you jotted down. For each one, ask yourself if it is interesting enough to develop further. If it is, turn it into a permanent note. Write the idea out in your own words, add the source, and most importantly, think about how it connects to other notes already in your Zettelkasten. On a weekly basis, take some time to review your network of ideas. You can do this by following your curiosity. Pick a note at random and follow the links from it, seeing where they lead you. Or you can review one of your index notes to see how a topic is developing. This weekly review is not about memorizing, it is about engaging with your thoughts. You might notice new connections you missed before or see a cluster of notes that could form the basis of an article or project. This is where you reflect on the patterns emerging from your slipbox. Monthly, it is helpful to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Review your main index notes and ask yourself what larger themes are capturing your interest. Are there any surprising connections between major topics? Perhaps your notes on habit formation are starting to link heavily to your notes on creativity. This is the time to ask bigger questions and think about what you want to learn next. This routine ensures your Zettelkasten remains a dynamic and living system that reflects your evolving intellectual journey, rather than becoming a dusty archive of forgotten notes. This systematic process of writing, linking, and reviewing enhances both memory and creativity. By rephrasing ideas in your own words, you are forced to understand them deeply, which aids retention far better than passive reading. The act of creating links builds a rich, interconnected web of knowledge, making it easier to retrieve information and discover novel combinations. Ultimately, the Zettelkasten method encourages you to treat your ideas not as a list to be checked off, but as a network to be cultivated. Build your web of thought, and it will reward you with insights for years to come.